Welcome everyone to episode 155, finally, of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pantelleresco. I write stuff and podcasts too. I'm going to get right into my guest, Ksenia Anske. I want to kind of apologize for being away for the last 2 weeks. I did my live podcast a little over a week and a half ago, and I've just been catching up ever since. It's been amusing. It was a lot of fun to do. I kind of wish more people had shown up, but it was a good crowd nonetheless. We had a lot of fun. There's now a video of me sounding like a goldfish. Yeah, that's a real thing. That'll come up sooner or later. That'll be episode 160 here. But in the meantime, I'm just going to get right into the interview. We're going to talk about everything that's kind of been going on when we get to the other side. But for now, let us go to my conversation with the one and only Ksenia Anske. So how are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Pretty good. I slept today. I actually got acquainted with sleep. I've been doing rewrites on my first novel for the last week, and so I've lost my mind a little bit. I'm sure you're at that point where it's like when you rewrite something, you're like, oh God, what was I thinking? Or oh God, my editor's right. You know what I mean? So it's been that kind of week for me.
What kind of rewrites?
A bit of every. Some of them are just line edits, but there's this one part I'm at right now where it's just the soggy part of the novel. Like you could literally you poke a hole in it, and your hand just goes in, and then the rest of your body if you're not careful. So. Yeah, no. So what I've been doing is I've been rewriting it, right? So this is what's going to happen. I'll probably finish rewriting it either tonight or tomorrow. And then the early stuff, I have to reset up some things to get to this point again. And then from this point on, the changes I make here are going to impact the rest of the book, too. So, I mean, this is the heaviest part of the rewrite. It won't be so soggy, it won't be so Swiss cheese, but it changes the structure of the book a little bit, right? So, so I'm kind of like, I'm in that point where it's like, I don't want to do it because I've been doing it for a while now. It's just like, I don't want to, but, you know, it needs to be done, right? Because when we write our first drafts, like, there are a lot of good ideas. This is like my third draft, but still, it's like when you write these drafts, there's good ideas in each piece, but sometimes there's just a part just for what, like, you can't see it, but your editor goes, this sucks. Please fix it. Right? And that's where I'm at right now. And you've been working on what, Tubes Forever?
Year. It will be exactly 3 years on March 17th.
Dear God.
Yep.
Yeah. Are you okay? I mean, there must be a point sometimes. Again, I'm not saying you're not passionate about it, because obviously you've been working on it for 3 years. You are very passionate about the book. But I'm sure there's like points where you're like, I don't want to go through this again, you know, because you've been doing it. You probably have. How many drafts has this been for you?
This is number 9, but my process changed so much that now it's not a straight draft from beginning to end. I hop around. So, I mean, approximately it is draft number 9.
Approximately draft number 9. So, I mean, do you get to that point where it's like, oh my God, I'm still here. Why am I still here? Right? I mean, you know what I mean. I get it too, because again, I've done different things. Like I like, this is my first novel series. I did a poetry series first time, so I'm almost like, as my process gets more sophisticated, because you as a writer, you just know, right, that you realize when you're younger, you're just audacious. When you get older and you get more knowledgeable, you're like, oh God, what was I thinking back then? And then you get more detailed, because you know what works and what doesn't, because you've done this so many times. In your case, you got, I think, 7 novels out now right now. If you count. Yeah, so I mean, for you, it's like, this is like your 8th book, so you have all these tricks you didn't have from book 1, so now it takes longer, because now you know stuff, and you're smarter, and hopefully, and better, and wiser, and, you know, all that other wonderful fun stuff, and on the other hand too, I mean, I think the biggest worry I have now is the one thing about the younger you is the audacity of younger you is they just power through it, right? So there is something to be said about that, right? Because it's easy to get bogged down with what you know. You know what I mean? It's very easy to do that. So my biggest worry going forward as I keep writing more and more books is that, personally, it's like, oh God, I hope I don't freeze because I know too much. Does that make sense?
Yes. It doesn't happen though. You get to the new level. Like in the game, you level up.
Yeah.
So you go across one level, you go, yay, I'm done, and what am I going to do? And then you go, oh, never mind, there's a whole another level. Here we go. And
Yeah.
you start from the beginning, and it's as exciting. I'm really excited right now. I thought I couldn't be excited about this book anymore. I just wanted to puke, and I'm excited.
Well, yeah. I mean, on the flip side, you've been working on it for 3 years. So are you near the finish line at this point?
This is the final draft. I have ditched all the previous ones, so every single draft was thrown away. Close to 1 million words, and it's just really, really great. Throwing away words would feel so good. It sounded really scary, but it's for the better. And it's a tough book. It's a tough subject. It's really hard to try to construct a story around it that's a story of its own. That's not factual, but actually fiction. And so that took most of my time. And also changing my process from pantsing, which I used to do, to plotting, up to the very smallest scene, blocking it out every day. One scene took me 14 days. I'm sorry, it was not even a scene, it was a piece of a scene, the beginning of a scene, and it took me 14 times to reblock it, meaning after I blocked it out for 14 days, it took me 3 days to write it. First day, didn't work. Second day, didn't work. Third day, and then it was done. And in reality, in the book, it will be 3 pages, which is maybe about 600 words, which used to take me to write, I could do 1,000 words in an hour. And I'm thinking, and I just spent 20 days on the same amount. But it's golden. It works. It's great.
So you're a lot more detail oriented than you used to be. Is that correct?
Depending on what do you mean exactly by detail?
Well, because okay, it's not about like quantity for you necessarily anymore. I mean, it's about quality, right? So it's like for you, it's like, okay, I can spurt out 1,000 words. I can do that in my sleep, right? But are they a good 1,000 words? And there might be 100 words in there that are good, right? Maybe great, and there's maybe another 100 that are good with some work, and then the other 800 just suck, right? And that's I mean, you don't want to suck anymore. You just want to have the 100 great words, maybe another 200 good words that can be worked on. Because no matter how good you are, even Stephen King, to this day, still needs to be edited and corrected. Because no matter how much you know, there's always things you miss. There's always things you're too close to, right? So, and that's just human bias, right? So your goal is to have that 100 great to like 200 good to great words, and as little of the garbage as possible.
No garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise the reader won't turn the pages. And I want this book to work. It's really important, and I am going to make it best. It takes time, you have to think through, does every word, every sentence move the story forward? If it doesn't, cut it out. And I used to do it by exactly what you said, volume and sheer stubbornness and perseverance. I'm just going to go and tackle it and do it. I'm just going to power through it. I'm just going to crank out all these words. And then each draft, I would reread it and go, wow, this is a mess. So I would be, again, I'll power through it. I will rewrite it. I can do it. And I tweet about it or talk about it. People are like, yes, you can do it. And I'll pump myself up. Yes, I can do it. and do it again and read it again and go, wow, it's still a mess. It's a different kind of mess, but, and I'll be like, but I won't give up. And after a while, I got tired of the process, thanks to one and my structural editor who stopped me and I said, so how much longer do you intend to suffer like this? And I said, what, is there another way? So yes, this other way is like work. It's just, you get up and it's like you're constructing a house. You're putting down foundation. It's pretty boring. Nothing, it's not romantic at all. You have to sit down and think. And so I used to just go by the flow. Oh, my characters told me to do this. Now it's the opposite. I tell my characters what to do. I know where the story is going. And so I have to break my habits, bad habits from the past. And that takes, days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months.
Yes. So I guess I gotta ask this time. So do you still give yourself room for surprises? Because every once in a while, I know a story will tell you, this direction is great, and when I don't listen to it, I usually pay for it. It's like, right? Because again, I may not use everything that's going down that particular path, but it added a wrinkle I never expected in a story. Do you still have that in your process, or is it right now you have the iron fist of Ksenia, and this is the way it's gonna be, and she's laughing, folks.
Always. Except now I know how to weave it in.
Mm-hmm.
I just had one accident in the previous scenes. I forgot. It was a sequence of something that the character was doing that was numbered, and I forgot number 9. And all of a sudden it became a key red herring in the story, that number 9. Because by accident I forgot, and then it fit into the structure. And so stuff like this happens all the time, except I have control over it now when it happens. It used to be that it would just throw me into a different direction. I'd get really excited and I'd write myself into a dead end. But being stubborn and, I'm just going to do it anyway, I would power through that dead end through sheer tears and just sweat and making myself to do it every day. And then still it would not be right because I didn't know where I was going. Ultimately, at one point, somehow I would find a direction. But it took so long, so this process is much cleaner. I don't write anything until everything is scripted out, blocked out, written out, and I know exactly what I'm writing. And then I sit down and writing is just pleasure. Like, it's done. And it's done the first time. It doesn't need multiple drafts anymore. And then I read it, and for the first time in my writing career since I started, I don't hate it.
Nice.
I used to write, and then the next morning I would wake up and I'd read it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just awful. What was I so excited in the middle of it? And this time I read what I wrote and I thought, this is pretty good. And I'm thinking, well, this is weird, me thinking that it's good. I was like, this is new. Why am I not disgusted?
I'm sorry, just the way you put that. It's awesome. But I'm glad it's working out for you. I really am. And so I'm sure we will see some of it in your next book, Tubes. But I'm assuming the next book is where we're really going to see that process flourish.
This one is a lab rabbit because I've already written so many drafts. Even though I'm writing draft 9 from scratch, I already know the characters and the storyline. I mean, I've been living with them for 3 years. But the next one, the thriller, the Dutch Murders, it is going to be almost from scratch because I've also written the first draft already. And I'm ditching it and I'm starting new. So it's the one after it about the cat and the pigeon, the Marquise on Plato. That's the one that I will start fresh. So you kind of see the process, how it goes. But I'm thinking that in the future it will shave me off so much time. I'm very, very slow right now because I'm learning this process. So it's like pulling teeth. Every day you go, oh my God, can you learn faster? No, it just takes time.
Well, it's like anything else. It's like learning how to use a muscle, right? It just the first little bit. It's a slow thing because it's not what you're consciously programmed to do. Are you there? Did it freeze?
The picture froze for me, but I can still hear you.
Okay, cool. Picture froze for me too, so I don't know what happened. So no, it's like it's a process, right? You have to. Well, I'm somewhere between a plotter and a pantser. I always know where the story ends. I always know where the story begins. I have some ideas of what the middle is, but this is why we were talking about my novel earlier. It's soggy in the middle because I wasn't sure about this particular part of the story. So when I wrote it, it's kind of bleh, because I didn't know what I was doing, and it's very 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 obvious I didn't know what I was doing there. But I always have like a plot. Like I know like I knew, for example, like in the story that my character was going to steal this file that everybody would want. And whether it was zombie mobsters or unicorns that fart rainbows. By the way, I am so jealous that you still fart glitter. I am unbelievably jealous of that. But anyways, right, I knew the beats of where it would start, where it would end, but like the stakes, the middle, and stuff like that was still kind of like a bit of a surprise. I know that the next book, like the sequel to this, is going to be a lot more. It has to be a lot more plot oriented, just because there's a lot of information going to be in the second book. So if I got to make sure that it's structured correctly, or it's going to blow. Like I just know that. So I'm slowly going the way of the plot. I'm gonna miss the pants though. I really am. Let's see here. You've been writing a long time, right? Like a long time. And I think once upon a time when I interviewed you for my WordPress eons ago, right? You were doing Rosehead. That's how long ago I think it was when I interviewed you. And so I think since then, besides this process, writing has taken you to all kinds of interesting directions. Like you were a resident on Amtrak. How was that?
That's what started to.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Yeah. So did you meet any cool people on the residence, or was it like, what was the experience like?
The train was carrying you through the dark night and the fields of snow, and you got to sit in a roomette, and the car attendant brought you food, and you felt like a queen. You just sit there all day long and write, and it was awesome. I loved it.
Do it again?
Do it again?
Yeah, would you do it again?
Yes.
Yes.
In a heartbeat. I grew up with trains, and I love trains. And train travel is not as, you wouldn't really go by train in many places. It is in Europe and in Russia, it's more spread out. You take a train everywhere. And here, this is a car country. So people go everywhere by car, and the trains, there were a lot of retired people who would go and visit their relatives. Or there would be people with children, so it would be people who love the pace that is slow, and also they could go take a shower, they could sleep. The schedule itself is not as reliable as the car or the plane. The train could be stopped in the middle, there could be delay, there could be snow on the track. They add to the romance. We actually got stopped. There was a train. I believe a few of the cars derailed, or maybe I'm wrong. Something got spilled. It was a freight train, I think. And we've been waiting. And it was interesting to see. Some people got upset, and I was excited. And it was weird to others, and I thought, this is so cool. This is an adventure. Of course, I didn't have to be somewhere specifically on time. So, I did. Some people who missed their connecting trains. They missed the boat. There's a couple who missed their boat. They had to go. They were going on vacation and they could make it. So, that could really stress you out.
Yeah. I when I travel, I tend to take I like the train when I can take it, but sometimes I'm stuck taking the bus. And so when I came back from Mexico from fixing my teeth, the Greyhound bus service wasn't exactly reliable. Like, they showed up an hour early and left an hour early. That was not fun at all. It turned my 14-hour day into a 28-hour day. I wasn't happy. But it's, again, that's part of the travel life too. Things don't always go according to plan, and you have to kind of be able to roll with the punches. So you've done that. I got your first three the original Siren Suicides trilogy from you. So I've noticed you have not done a series since. Would you?
Yes, everybody demands a sequel to Rosehead, so it's happening.
Yes.
Except I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other books, I think. I cannot remember the number actually of the books planned in my head before I get to it. But yes, the sequel is happening. I'm not a big fan of series. One side of me is a little afraid because sometimes it's hard to pull off a sequel. You know, the first book is always the best, and so you have to really work at the second one to make it as good, if not better. Another part of me is afraid of it because I'm not really sure how to do it. So the first trilogy I didn't know what I was doing. So it's really just one big fat book, chopped in 3.
Yes.
And then, you know, I like shiny objects. New idea, squirrel, and I just want to go and do that. And working again with the same characters is, okay, I'm tired of them, it's boring, I've done this, I've moved on. So when the readers fall in love with them, as an author, you think, okay, I'm so not interested in going back there. So that's why I hesitate. But so many readers told me we want it, and I said sure. So because I've committed, my brain has said, okay, fine, we'll work on it. So I started thinking, so I have the premise and the story ready in my head. So that's happening. It's going to be called Dogwood.
Dogwood. Very cool. Well, the secret I found, because when I did my series, it's 2 things. Continuity, which will bite you in the ass at least once. It's going to happen. And the other thing, too, is, like, the way I did my sequel was I focused on another character in that world. Right? It's the same group of people, but from her perspective. And I made her kind of grow, because I wanted to make the other characters stronger. I just realized that the first book was about one particular character, and he's great, but thing is, the other characters, I didn't know them so well. So I like, that's what I did there. And the other thing I recognized too is it was like you said, the beyond the continuity, it's just like the challenge it really is with the sequel is, what are you saying that's different than the first time, right? Because that's the real issue. Because if you're not saying anything new, then the sequel's going to blow. It just will, because there's nothing there that you're really adding to it. The first story says everything you need to say at that point, and there's no point in going any further. But if there is something new, there is something there that you can mine into. That's then it will find a magical way to work. But then again, I got my own little like series kind of mapped out in my head. So I'm like, what am I saying here, 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 here? And I'm like, okay, I think this is original enough. Right? So, but that's me, right? So I mean, I think if you have something worth saying, it will be very, very good. Just my opinion, but let's see. You've also, I think, from what I've been reading on you online, you've kind of broken through a little bit in terms of success. Now, I know everybody has a different definition of success as a writer, especially with the fact that from a publishing house point of view, from just basically how books are done today. I mean, there's no barometer anymore, really. I mean, there's still the New York Times best-selling list. But, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, there are far fewer opportunities for a lot of writers to get on this list, and 1. And 2, there's a lot of writers that are making a living and having nothing to do with the big publishing houses anymore, right? So, I guess, like, but I've noticed you've been like, you have increased. Like, when I emailed you today, or to set this interview up, you have assistants, you have people that help organize your time. So you have quietly become an organization, right? Almost like a writing mafia, except you're the head. But but yeah. So you've grown. So how has that process been for you?
I have a team of wonderful people I work with, and really, none of this would have happened without you. You guys are my tribe and my readers. And so it was just my readers, all of the people who wanted to read my stories, who stepped up and decided to help me make Tube happen.
Yeah.
So it's I'm really humbled and amazed at the amount of love I got and support and just belief. When somebody comes to you and says, I believe in you, I believe in your book, I believe this is going to be great, I believe you're a great writer, I believe this book is important, I believe this will sell. It gives you such a huge boost. And then you understand that we tend to think an author makes a book happen. And it's not true. It takes a whole village. It takes your tribe. It takes many people to make it happen. And I think when I was starting to write, I thought of it as a solitary endeavor, just based on what I've read everywhere, and just based on the assumption, as I guess most of us have.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized this is not true, and the more I opened up, the more I let people in. And that is why you see, it's really the result of everybody trying to tell me, hey, we want to help. And me at first going, no, I'm okay. And then understanding that I was pushing people away by not letting them give me this help. And so I wasn't giving them love, and instead I was making them upset, because here they came and they said, look, I want to give you my love. And I would be like, no, I'm fine. And so it hurt them. It was a self-healing process, and also growing up, I guess, maybe as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
There is such a thing, but then I understood, no way I can make this happen on my own. And I cannot continue doing this, pushing people away. And so as soon as I made that decision, it just like something changed. And particularly this year, this summer, I would say from spring to summer when the shift happened. And I have now a whole team, and we're working together, we're sitting on Slack, talking every day. Everybody does their own little bit, and I'm just their monkey. I said, you guys tell me what to do and how, and I'll just make it happen. So
it's one of the hardest lessons I think to learn. Like I my teeth were busted when I went to Arizona. I don't know how much you've seen on my Facebook on that or not, but one of the hardest lessons I learned going through that was I can't do it all on my own. Like, no matter how capable you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter how tough you are, life's tougher than you, life's bigger than you, life's badder than you, and it'll beat you down no matter what you bring to the table. It's true. I mean, it's the absolute truth, right? So you have to recognize with yourself that, you can't, if you want to do whatever it is you feel called to do, you have to be open for help. Last night I had this idea for like my next, like not my current book, but my next book. I had this idea of Alice in Wonderland as Greek mythology, and I already have like the first little bit written, and I'm like, it'd be really cool if I did like a design, like a board game, for the actual interior of the book. It would be really, really cool. So last night on Twitter, someone contacted me about this. I'm like just out of the, yeah, right, like out of the ether, right? So when I'm done with you, I'm emailing her, because I'm like, this. I have, again, there's no promises or guarantees, because I'm not that far into this process, but it's like that's a really cool idea. And I'm like, I'm open to it simply because it's like, why not, right? They want to help. Let's and then a friend of mine just on there, when I mentioned it on my Facebook, was like, I'm part of a board game community. It's like, dude, you're gonna be the first person I call when the game's built, because why not make a playable game on top of for part of the book? It just seems like a really cool idea. Why not do that? Right, and yeah, I'm going to take advantage of the fact that people do want to help me, and not in like an evil, nefarious way. It's like, okay, it's cool. You want to help me? I thank you, man. So here you go. This is what I'm thinking, and we'll see what happens. And that's kind of the trick. I learned this. It cost me teeth, but I learned a lot, which is a small price to pay in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, no one does it on their own. ever. And you have to recognize that people believe in you. And you still are. I'm gonna still call you audacious, simply because when you started, I remember watching you on Twitter long time ago, and you're like you talk like your whole strategy of giving your books away, just going off and doing things. By the way, I should show you something. I hadn't forgotten the card you sent me. I have this. See, I'm sending you something. I haven't forgotten, right? I've been busy with like real life stuff, so it's one of those things where it's just like you have literally gone in. It's like, let's just do it. I'm going all in. I have guts and heart, and people respond to that. And that's why you have the following you have. You are audacious, but in the right ways.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But yeah. So when is Tube likely to come out? Like, do you have an idea, or am I jinxing you?
It was supposed to come out on March 17th because I thought it would be so cool to make it come out exactly 3 years after the day I boarded the Amtrak train, which was the very first day I put down the very first word of the first draft. And no, it's not happening. I am thinking currently maybe at the end of this year. At the rate I'm going, it varies. Like I said, 3 pages took me 20 days to do in one part. And another part I blew through 5 chapters in a day. It's so unpredictable because my structure skills are, in some ways, I've done something before, and so I learn faster. In others, I have never done what I need to do, and so I'm learning how to walk again. And as if walk before. And so every step, every word you put down, I have to think, do I lift my foot now? Do I bend my knee? How many inches do I move it forward? And then you fall and you pick yourself up. Maybe, hopefully, fall, winter of 2018.
Okay.
I told everyone it will take its time and it will be the better for it.
All right. So, Miss Ksenia, I think I could be wrong on this. I think we have an okay interview here. So, then how we'll close this out is 2 things. First off, what is your current release? Since Tube is coming, what was your last release? And talk about that a little bit, and how people can find you if they want to find you.
Go out your door and shout my name, and I'll show up on my phone there. Or you can type in my name into Google, and I'll probably pop up. I would love for you to come and look for me on Patreon. I've moved everything over there. I was in too many places, spreading myself. Do it all, I thought, and no, I can't. So that's one place where you can go and search, and there's free posts, or you can pledge, whatever you want to do. So basically everything from updates, news, to writing classes where I teach the structure, how to slog through the soggy middle, how to make it happen so it's not soggy actually, because I don't have that problem anymore. It's a different kind of problem that I have now, and it would be another 3 hours maybe, or 4 to explain. And the latest release, I have republished my first trilogy in one book, so it's not a new story. And we'll work my editor to shrink down the trilogy into one book. And it's not something we're going to do again. It was hard. I thought it would be just easy to take out the purple prose, all of the bits that I did not like. No, because all of it is very amateurish and very raw, very emotional, hardly ever any plotting in there. I did, but again, I did not know what I was doing, so even the plotting itself is not solid. There's a lot of repetitions, many scenes repeat, just a lot of places where the pace of the story slows down enough for the reader to put it down, where I have a lot of people read the first book and then they never pick up the second or the third. So that could be technically the release, but it's not really. So the latest story that I had, that was a new story, was called The Badlings. And the reason I'm working on 2 right now for 3 years was a bit of a flop for me. I have started it out as a nostalgic project. I was missing all the books I read as a kid. They came up with this idea of this evil book sucking in 4 friends, 4 kids inside of it, and it was composed of the pages torn from the books that the kids didn't finish reading. So they were hopping between Mary Poppins and Dracula and Alice in Wonderland and so on.
That's awesome.
There were 30 of them. I wrote the first draft. I wrote the second draft. My editor had to go and take a year off her editing project, so I had to look for a new editor. I got a new editor, and she was wonderful. And the first thing she did, she asked, "Did you think about copyright?" And I was like, "Oh, no." Out of those 30 books in my book, I ended up using only 10 because of copyright. For example, I couldn't use Mary Poppins, or I couldn't use Lumens, and so I had to. I was dead for 75 years or older or more, and that killed the book for me. I still stubbornly finished it. It's not anymore as good as Rosehad, and people sometimes write to me and they say, "Wow, I thought it was going to be great, but it didn't really touch me." And I said, "Hey, don't worry, it didn't touch me either."
What can you say to that? Yeah. So
some people really love it. They said,
I love that.
And I said, "That's awesome. I love it that you love it." And with Tube, I had so much fear. I thought, "Oh my God, I don't want to screw this up." So that is why 3 years, even though it seems like a long time, it's not really, because if you write a really good book, it will last forever.
Yep.
Once it's published. And I'm not making that mistake again where I just kind of scrambled and made myself finished it, published it, and so it's just limping along.
No, I love as a concept though. I love that idea. Like I really, really love the idea of the Badlings. Although, if you were to do it again, if you don't mind a suggestion, if you ever try something like that again, make up some of your own books. Like there's some of your own fairy tales, right? And that way you don't have to worry about copyright. And also, right, you can introduce these characters. Like for example, maybe instead of doing Peter Rabbit, you can create Evil Rabbit. Right, this is the story of how an evil rabbit, becomes good. But this is the part of since you never got to the part where he becomes good, he's just an evil prick the whole way through this, that kind, like that kind of stuff, right? And you can have a lot of fun with that, and like just as a concept, it's just a lot of fun to me. I could see where losing your favorite fairy tales though would suck. Like I'm a huge John Carter of Mars guy. That book is free. I can do a Princess of Mars over and over again. However, if I were to do Tarzan, the people at Edgar Rice Burroughs would be very, very unhappy with me, just based on the fact that So it sounds like a really badass idea. I actually still have to pick up Rosehead for me at some point, so I'm going to do that, and probably after I send you that letter. And then at some point I will pick it up. But anyway, thank you very, very much. I'm going to turn the recorder off now. And that was my conversation with Ksenia Anske. I encourage you guys to check out her Patreon. She probably actually has the best Patreon I've seen of any writer. True story. Incredible stuff. So what's been going on with me since I took a week and a half, 2 weeks off? I've been doing podcast stuff, just, like, Skype has sucked this year. Ever since the beginning of the new year, the Skype interviews I've had to work a lot harder to do. That's part of the reason why I've only been one episode a week the last little bit, because they take way more time than they used to. The other end of it is just, like I said, just things have been coming up. I'm going to be going back to a regular schedule this week. There'll probably be one episode coming up on Thursday. It's going to be my last of the Skype interviews, of my Skype interviews for the time being. I got some really good conversations coming up. It's been good. It's been already a busy year. Live podcasts. I got a book that's almost ready to go. I'm going to have some announcements on that real soon. But outside of that, yeah, it's been a wild ride. That will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. So if you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of ways. You can subscribe to it. It's on iTunes. You can do it through Podomatic. Your choice. Either way, very cool to have you listen. Leave a review. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Joshua Penteloresco. Episodes are there. More episodes will be going up soon, I promise. My books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, The Wandering God, courtesy of Mirror World Publishing. You can check it out on their site or anywhere where books are sold electronically. You can do that. Support me. That'd be great. Beyond all that, just listen. Let me know what's going on. If you like it, you hate it, or don't. Just enjoy the show. Anyway, stay inspired. Do your thing, and I'll do mine. Okay. See you next time.
Josh.